Hi, welcome to the Nobody Wants This podcast. I'm Cody, and this is
Julian, hey, this is the pilot episode. We're gonna be talking about movies and stuff.
specifically
Um,
one movie for this episode, and that is Network, the 1976 film.
Die Hard.
I wish. I think we should have studied a different movie.
Yeah, because this one it's a train wreck.
Yeah, it
No,
sure is.
it's alright. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Hold on. I need to get
Yeah.
my notes open.
Yeah.
I forgot to do that.
Yeah, I stopped
Intermission.
talking because I was typing when I cut
Intermission.
that out.
This is the intermission. This is the intermission. This is the intermission. This is the intermission.
So basically, yeah, if you didn't know, Network is a movie from 1976, as I said before, directed by Sidney Lumet, I think his name is pronounced. Lumet, maybe? I'm not sure, but anyway, I think
Lumet.
it's most known for, like, the main actor winning, like, the first posthumous Oscar award. So, that's an interesting piece of trivia right there.
Gonna tell my friends at a dinner party.
Yep. You should do that. So anyway,
I won't.
we're basically just gonna review this film and say what we
Yeah.
liked and didn't
What
like
did you
about it.
think?
I thought it was. I mean, I knew nothing about the film before watching it, and I guess that's something I usually try not to look into them too much. But yeah, I exceeded my expectations, which were I usually keep them low, but regardless, it was a surprisingly entertaining movie. Like, usually some movies takes a while for me to get into them, but this had me entertained throughout. So
Yeah, actually, it was pretty good from the start.
yeah,
What did you think of like the very first scene? No, it wasn't the first.
the first scene's when he's outside talking to oh man, I've forgotten the name again. He's talking to that
I
Schumacher
don't
guy.
remember the
Howard's
yeah.
talking
I don't
to
really
Max
remember the
Schumacher.
characters, but
I remember the name now. When he's talking about
Max
the George
Schumacher.
Washington Bridge, right?
yeah, that's right. And he like tells it again later.
Yeah.
I wonder what I don't really get the significance though.
Well, I guess it's sort of foreshadowing his, suicide speech on TV, then directly foreshadowing the bar scene after that, where he's talking about, killing himself on air.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's much of a spoiler, but generally, like suicide is like they talk about it a lot in the film for some reason.
I think I think from what I gathered from it, it's sort of like, I don't know if symbolize would be the right word, but sort of like outlines
I guess
Howard's
it's a theme.
decline throughout the film, without like specifically
Yeah,
spoiling anything.
I guess. I mean, I don't. As far as I remember, none of the characters commit suicide.
No, no, they don't. But it's a theme, definitely, in my opinion.
I think it was meant to be kind of a bait and switch, actually, because they talk about suicide all the time, but no one kills himself.
You could say that, I guess.
Because there's
mean-
obviously kind of like, yeah, what you were saying about a decline in one of the characters.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
kind of, yeah.
well, the essential
What is-
synopsis of the
what-
film is basically like a television news network is using a news actor's rants as entertainment to gain higher ratings to subvert talking about like actual news because this will get them a higher broadcasting share when compared to the competitors. So
It's basically a big commentary on the media.
yeah, it's making
I'd say that's what most of the film is.
it's making a comment.
And in fact, it's much more relevant now.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's
know
much
if
more
you've
relevant
seen
now, but I
Nightcrawler.
feel it's just as relevant, really.
Have you seen Nightcrawler?
No, not yet, actually.
It's pretty similar in a way.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
both
know.
are about
I know the
the
basic
media,
synopsis,
TV.
how he becomes like a crime journalist or whatever.
Yeah.
That's about
Anyway,
as much
what
I
did
know
you
about
think
it.
of the acting?
Good, definitely.
I thought it was pretty good just because of all the really long monologues and stuff.
Yeah, the lead role, I reckon.
Oh
deserved
yeah,
his Oscar
especially.
award. Yeah, most of the characters
Yeah,
are pretty.
well, so he got an
fun.
Oscar for it.
Yeah. Well,
Oh.
exactly. The first
Well,
person
yeah,
to
it
win an
goes to
Oscar after
show,
they
yeah.
died. I think the only other person who's done that is Heath Ledger. I believe there might have been one since, but no.
And yeah, blah blah blah. The story and writing was pretty good in my opinion. I mean, the monologues were like the dialogue's really good in the film.
Yeah, no, agreed. I guess like the main character you could say throughout the film, and they describe him as this like like the crazy prophet. You could say like Howard Beale, he's one like making the comments, like making fun of these news networks and stuff, and like trying to like get a message to the public. At the end of the day, it's pretty much just being like stifled by the media news networks as just entertainment. Like that's all they care about. At the end of the day, they don't care for the benefit of people.
And at the end of the day, like
they care about
everyone
the money.
watching is sort of, it becomes a normal thing, I guess, to watch.
I mean, it's just what's popular at the time.
I get it's probably a good story about just how the media sort of gets something big and then just pushes it into a sort of money scheme.
Yeah, well, I guess you could also say
get something important.
I mean, I don't know if it's direct comparison, but I know this happens. Like a lot of like journalists have a pre-prepared story, and they manipulate something or someone in that way to make that news story. And I feel just letting Howard Beale go on and like as the movie goes, without spoiling anything specifically, his rants get like more and more intense, and I guess you could sort of say they're taking advantage of him as a character.
Less intense, more well, I guess he's allowed to say more.
Yeah, but I feel like
anyway,
over the movie he does go on like a decline. I feel like the movie like. That's how I read it anyway, but like I feel the movie like foreshadowed things well. Like,
I'd probably have to rewatch.
Right, but there's a specific scene where he is talking to himself in bed, and it's literally just like his conversation with someone else that happens later in the film that he like basically realizes before it happens in the movie. So, I guess that was an interesting comment if you're like. I don't know what I would compare it to.
I know.
There's something, but it slips my mind.
Anyway, the directing. What did you think?
Well, I guess it was directed well. Like,
I personally I love that kind of directing where it's like like really long shots, especially with the monologues.
Yeah.
And kind of just zooming in.
Sometimes I find
I don't know if Robert Altman is who made it, but kind of Robert Altman-esque. You've seen The Player.
Yeah, that I know what you mean.
Really long, awesome shots.
I mean,
really wide and.
Yeah, I feel like I think the longest shot in this film was probably in his "Mad as Hell" speech, and I don't know if it was like as much of like a grand long shot. I think it was more of like more of a dolly tracking shot, really. I think it was a simple pan from left to right, but I do think it was like choreographed well, how he like comes out of the back of the news box and like the people like in the background are like reeling up cables and stuff and lifting like the news camera around, and like that looked pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think it fits because obviously like it's meant to be a news show or a talk show, so there aren't any cuts.
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
And I guess you could say that speech and that scene in general kind of breaks the fourth wall. One, because like you could say that character speaking directly to the audience as well as the audience, that's depicted as characters.
As in,
in the film.
you watching, yeah.
And then as well, when he like walks off set, you're seeing like behind the scenes and stuff, and like the camera crew's like shocked faces, and they're just like listening to him.
Yeah, pretty much. So also, what did you not really like about the film?
The main thing I didn't really like is I feel like some characters were there to serve their part in the story and nothing else. They didn't have much depth. They're just network executives that kind of needed to be there. Really? I think the only
go
on.
I thought there was a romantic subplot.
Yeah, that was I think the one thing that kind of mattered.
I thought it was irrelevant, but
yeah, it was irrelevant. But I feel like if it wasn't there, people would be saying something's missing.
I guess, but I actually kind of thought about it a bit, and it was sort of.
I think
first of all, it's not like a push together romance. Like it's probably more
because
more realistic.
Yeah. I mean, without spoiling anything for this like particular character who like the love subplots involved, like the male counterpart of this has like marriage troubles and stuff. So I guess that adds a bit to his character. But in terms of like
Yeah,
the
and I
female
think,
half of that relationship, it's just
well, that
well,
was kind of the point of the ending, not to
yeah, yeah, fair enough.
like it seems sort of useless, but I guess it pays off.
I guess you could say that's kind of indicative of the character as well, like how she acts throughout the film. Like, really, at the end of the day, she just wants the story, without
Yeah.
spoiling anything.
And
Because
yeah,
that
it
is,
almost felt a bit slow around the middle slash near the end, but it had a really good ending.
yeah. Well, I reckon throughout it was good pacing though, and I
Mm,
reckon too.
I
I
don't know. It
reckon
was just it might have just been because I was tired.
fair enough, but
I got tired, but then I sort of
yeah.
woke up around the end.
I reckon the
Well, not
length was
woke up,
perfect
but
though.
yeah,
2 hours.
yeah, I guess. I mean, that's normal.
I feel like some like films that are like 2.5 hours either overdo it or they're on a grander scope and underdo it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that's true. Like, really, how I see it, most good movies are around either 2 hours or 3 hours specifically.
mm,
I mean, you do get good ones that are 2.5 hours, but then
yeah,
it's like,
there's a lot of cult classics that are 2.5 hours, but there's a lot of movies in general that are that length. Well,
yeah.
um,
Anyway, I've got one more point.
okay,
Yeah, it's also very much a very satire film.
yeah,
Not so much even in a comedic way. I mean, obviously it's absurd, but
mm-hmm.
it does a pretty good job at satire.
Satirizing,
I
I
don't know
think
how
so
to
you
pronounce.
pronounce it.
Yeah, satirizing the media and
Yeah,
generally society. All of his rants kind of become on a bigger and bigger scale. I think
yeah,
that's what you meant earlier by intense.
yeah. I feel
So yeah,
like
it's a film with a lot to say.
I feel like that reading. I mean, I get what you mean by it, but I feel like a lot of the movies making more of like a serious comment rather than just straight up parodying something. You could view it in
Yeah,
both
I know,
ways,
but
and they
that
could go hand in
it
hand.
still
But
does it satirically, but yeah,
fair enough.
it obviously is serious, but it starts as like the whole idea of it starts as a satire, but it goes much beyond that.
Yeah, there's an interesting quote from the film that Howard Beale makes during like his one of his first speeches, and he's talking about like he's telling the audience to basically say like I'm a human being and my life has value, and that's
Yeah,
you could say like that's a true come out in the media. Like they really care more about like the local news and like the stuff that's entertaining, whereas there's conflict in the Middle East and stuff like that that just doesn't like go reported on really, and human lives are being lost and stuff, and after that stuff you just find on the internet, and a lot of like older people aren't in the loop with that kind of stuff, and yeah, that's just I guess you could say they don't really care about loss of life. It's whatever's like most entertaining and engaging at 5 o'clock
well,
and
kind of the point is that if every human being had meaning, then no one would. If their lives had meaning, rather.
no one
That's
would
sort of the irony of it.
no one would what though.
And yeah, people don't really care about people dying; they just care about themselves
I
and
feel like
them
it's
being special.
I don't know. I feel like the comment it was making is like more the media doesn't care, but that's fair enough.
Yeah, but the saying. I don't know if it's a saying, but it's sort of the media reflects society, and society reflects the media.
Mm, I don't know. I feel like this is more taking a shot at television news specifically because like the stuff I
Yeah,
was sort of saying, but like the way I read it would be something
I
you
guess
would
everyone
read.
has a different
Yeah,
interpretation anyway, but
but
yeah,
like
it mostly does target
because
TV.
the stuff I feel is making a comment about like stuff about loss of human life is something you'd more find on like AlJazeera.com than you would on Sunrise
Yeah,
with
that's
Koshi
true.
and Mel or whatever her name is.
Speaking of Kashi,
Yep.
um, I'm out of notes, but I tell you what, I do need a haircut. And let me just say, I want the Koshi special.
I thought it was the Koshi Classic.
Well, you know, whichever costs less at the end of the day.
Koshi Classic cost.
Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much all there is. I think that's a
Okay.
fair review of the film. I rated it 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I would rate it like, in terms of enjoyment, yeah, like 9.5. Objectively, like
I usually
if
just
you
round
were to, like
up.
if you were to like break it up. I mean, I don't like giving numerical scores, but like most films, and like particularly, there's definitely a lot of flaws in films, so you'd usually give a less favorable numerical score, at least in my opinion. But I'd give it an 8, which I say would be favorable.
Okay.
But yeah, I feel in future
I
I
know,
probably won't
I'm
do
very...
numerical scores because
I find very few movies most of the movies I rate are around 6 to 10.
fair enough.
10 being ones I really enjoyed overall,
Anyway,
and 6 being ones I didn't really like. But anyway,
I feel like something I found that's noteworthy about this film is like, I mean, I can tell around the time of release this was probably a popular film because it like won 4 Oscars, and I mean it's quoted a lot and
Shit.
referenced in a lot of things, but
Better Call Saul.
yeah, exactly. That's a recent one, but yeah, it's weird because this isn't like something I even had heard about until you like brought it to my attention, and I feel like I feel like it would be a
only
good
heard of
cult
it
classic
recently,
film if it was like seen in that way, but I'm surprised I hadn't heard of it because there's movies like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which I feel do deserve that title, but I feel this movie would just nearly be just as good, really. And there's like a lot of good trivia
A
around
film
the
doesn't
film.
have to be a cult classic to, you know.
Well, I mean, a cult classic is in itself perpetuating. Like it just like it's
But
word
yeah,
of mouth. It stays famous up until like this day, kind of thing.
I get your point though. You like neither of us had really heard of it until recently.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because it's actually a really good film.
And one thing I forgot to say this
I don't know.
earlier is like a lot of things reference network, but a lot of like network references a lot of like real life events that happened before the film. Like
I heard something like that.
yeah, because there's a woman called.
Although it'd be a spoiler.
This specifically wouldn't be a spoiler because we've said before that this doesn't happen in the film. But this is similar to like a speech that happened prior. But there was a woman, a local news reporter called Christine Chubbuck, I believe her name was, and yeah, she basically like killed herself on live TV, and the speech she gave before she like killed herself on like live air was like pretty similar to like Howard Beale's first speech in the film. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Oh right.
Because whenever I went on the IMDb
Okay,
page, it was
I
like
didn't know about that.
a lot of people sharing like the story about like that British prop comedian who like had a heart attack on stage, stuff like that, and the audience was like laughing and clapping because they thought it was part of the act and stuff.
Yeah,
and,
I saw that.
yeah, it actually, watching the video, it seemed like, I feel like, I don't want to spoil this, but I feel like in terms of like what's the word I'm thinking of, choreography, the way that like certain parts of Network I choreographed, I can see the inspiration drawn from that particular death I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like as in like a character dies in the film, but like there is a similar like aspect of movement in terms of like body language and stuff. But
So it's almost like a homage.
yeah.
Okay.
To someone who hasn't seen
I
this
didn't
film,
really
that
know
would probably
much.
sound like really weird and like a dark connection to make, but no, I feel a lot of people seem to make that connection.
Okay, yeah. Cool.
Anyway, yeah, I think that
yeah, I
summarizes
think that
our
covers
thoughts.
everything.
Yep.
That
So.
concludes this this pilot. This pilot episode. Later ones will probably be funnier.
And probably be more than just about movies.
And probably, well, yeah, probably more than one movie too. We'll probably just talk about fuckload.
Yeah, maybe.
Yep. Yeah, whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, alright. Well,
Yep, see ya.
thanks for listening.